just a little bit about each one of them. Patricia is getting her PhD at Northwestern University. Tran is working in Senator Durbin's office, and Matt is working at the University of Chicago. So I'm going to ask them some tough questions, and I told them to make sure to look into the eyes of the audience. If people start falling asleep, they need to do something different. I'll make their remarks really short. So I hope you will stay awake and listen to their presentations, because I think it would be very informative. First, I'd like to ask Patricia, were you born in Vietnam or were you born in the US?
So first of all, I'd like to thank Go Ling Wang and Paul Lu for Paul Tran. Paul Lu. Sorry. We have so many last names that we share. For inviting me onto this panel. I was born in the United States, in Chicago, born and raised, and my parents are actually in the audience.
Okay, very good. So, what is it like to grow up as a Vietnamese person born in the U.S.?
I was actually really lucky and fortunate to grow up inside of the Vietnamese community through the Vietnamese Association of Illinois because of my father and the kind of work that he was doing based in the community. And so I grew up in the youth center, learning Vietnamese, and kind of solidifying my identity with those that also grew up in similar circumstances where their parents were also Vietnamese refugees, and we shared a lot of similar experiences.
You know, when I look at your bio and your selection of photo, it's very intriguing. You don't want us to know what you look like or what you're thinking about in your photograph. And then as I read some more, I realized that you're more the artist. So can you tell us exactly what your PhD is on and why did you select this particular image about yourself?
So I'm studying for a PhD in performance studies at Northwestern University, and I'm kind of interrogating the history of Vietnam post-revolution, or what is called revolution, or the fall of Saigon, and really thinking about what does it mean to be Vietnamese and try to like excavate the history of where you come from and the kind of struggles that our families and parents had to go through. And so the photo that you see on the program is actually from one of my performance pieces where I commemorated the 40th anniversary of the fall of Saigon, where I created candles with images from the war to pay homage to those that had lost their lives and to kind of evoke a sense of hope for those new generations to come. And so I performed it at Lake Michigan to kind of think through the body of water that my parents had to journey across to make their way to the United States.
You know, it's really shocking to me. Here you are, born in the U.S., you could do anything you want to. You could be Michelle Huang, you could be Betty Nguyen, and you choose to go back and study Vietnamese history. What's the point of that? What do you have to do with that?
Yeah, I ask myself that question every day. It's not easy, especially to navigate culturally, because I think I've been raised in the United States. I'm more American than I am Vietnamese in some sense when I come back to Vietnam in terms of my mannerisms and the way that I talk or how I kind of reference certain things. But I hope to kind of understand and excavate the stories of people on the ground and how they're living. But most of my research comes from the oral histories of Vietnamese Americans that actually live in the United States. And to kind of understand what are the issues that they faced during war and what are the current issues that they're facing now, to kind of think through like certain social services that we can attend to think about issues of education or employment or healthcare, mental services, and things like that.
Okay, I'm going to give you a few minutes of peace and switch over to Tran. So Tran, unlike Patricia, you were born in Vietnam, right?
Yes, I was born in Vietnam.
Yeah, and how old were you when you came to the U.S.?
Well, my parents, we left when I was 18 months old, but then we spent a year in refugee camps, so I actually didn't make it to Carol Stream until I was just a few weeks shy of my 3rd birthday.
So do you have any memory of Vietnam?
None whatsoever.
So it's fair to say that as far as we know, you are just as American as Patricia, because your experience with the Vietnamese culture, your people and the country is very limited, yes?
Yeah, I think so. I would say that's a fair assessment. Actually, Patricia and I went through the same summer program at VAI. So we took the same Vietnamese language classes, we had recess together. So I would say that we had the same experience growing up.
You know, it's kind of stunning to think that Vietnamese have an opportunity to work in one of the most powerful U.S. senator in the United States. I mean, Senator Durbin is a very senior member of Congress. He chairs important committee, have enormous influence over a lot of policies. How did you find yourself in the office? What's going on there, and how does it influence you as a Vietnamese American person?
You know, that's a great question. It's been quite a whirlwind being in the office. I started summer 2012, and it's been one major legislative issue after another. You know, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, President Obama's re-election, the ACA, comprehensive immigration reform. It's been nonstop. I see the best thing about working that office isn't the part where I'm working for a powerful man, is the opportunity to learn about so many different issues that are of importance to us as residents in the United States. We have a great legislative staff in DC. I can always tap into them if I wanted to learn about, you know, education reform, the Iran nuclear deal, anything like that, clean energy. That is a wonderful, wonderful resource.
But are there times when you go to work or wake up in the morning and say, how did it happen? How is it that I'm able to work in the U.S. Senator's office?
You know, sometimes, but I think a lot of my experiences have kind of built towards that. You know, education. I interned for Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky's office when I was an undergrad. I worked with, I had a fellowship with an organization in DC that actually contracted me to work with VAI. So I worked with refugees and immigrants in the access to healthcare department. And I think that's really kind of what made me so attractive to the office. My work in immigration and healthcare, which is what I work on predominantly in the Chicago office now.
Matt, you're the only man on the panel here, so we hope that you don't feel intimidated by all the Vietnamese women.
No, not at all.
Okay, good. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Were you born in Vietnam or born in the U.S., and where have you lived?
Sure. So I was actually born in the Quad Cities, about 2.5 hours west of here. Small town, and yeah, it was interesting growing up in that area because there were not a lot of Asians in the community, and most of the Asian families knew each other, or many people thought we were all related.
Oh, I see. All Asian look alike, as you know. So Matt, when I look at your bio, it said that you are doing medical data, and it sounds scary. Like, what are you doing? Are you collecting our data and trying to predict how much you can make us pay for our health insurance? Exactly what are you doing?
No, not quite. So a lot of the work that we're doing over at University of Chicago Medicine is really better utilizing information to make better decisions in healthcare, not only from an insurance and payer side, but more so at a point of care. For example, instead of just looking back in time at data and trends, we're actually looking forward and trying to do more predictive analytics. Very recently, we just released a solution that would actually alert clinicians when a patient was at risk of cardiac failure within the next 48 hours. So based on the type of care that they're receiving and the vitals that are coming across the system, we can actually alert the nurses to say, hey, this patient is a high risk for cardiac failure and you need to take action.
So this is what is called a predictive analysis. So my last question to you is, if we give you all the Vietnamese data and all the VAI data, would you be able to tell us where we will be 40 years from now?
If I could, there'd be a lot of money to be made in it, of course. But really where a lot of the data is coming from and looking at is with population health and the population health of Vietnamese communities as well. And it's really just that next step and continue to build these new opportunities for other people.
Okay, I got signal that I need to wrap up before we lose all the audience. So I just want to ask each one of you to just make one short sentence. What it is you hope for the community, as the generation that would play the leadership role. So Matt?
Yeah, just for the community is continue to be able to provide opportunities for future generations. That becomes very important, and continue to invest in the programs that have given us opportunities to be successful in our careers.
I'm going to answer the long run-on question. It's twofold. So, working in an elected official's office, one, I'd like to see more Vietnamese, more of the community become civically engaged. It's not just about voting, it's about engaging the politicians. They're there to represent your interests and your needs, and you can reach out to them. We're here to be of assistance. So if the U.S. Postal Service, someone there made you angry, you can reach out to us. If you have an immigration petition that's pending, we can be of assistance there too. The second part is to become more socially engaged. I would really like the community, both old and young, to draw upon their experiences and their knowledge to work with the greater community and then with national and international issues. Right now, Syria is a major humanitarian issue, and as the Vietnamese community, we're in a unique position. We know why individuals are getting off those boats. We know why they're leaving their home with their young children. Why not use that knowledge that we gained to help them, right? So that's just my 2 cents right there.
And I would just emphasize the importance of understanding our history for the young Vietnamese community to really know where they come from in the past 40 years and what we've had to struggle through, where our families come from, to really build a strong future and a foundation for the next 40 years. And some of that work is already being done in terms of the Roots of Argyle mural that's on the streets of Argyle, where you see the community develop. My father's on the mural. But also an upcoming memorial that's being built for the Vietnamese veterans that is hopefully coming soon, and to really think about how these cultural symbols and modes of production can really help us think about the past to build a stronger and better future.
Thank you so much everyone for staying through the bitter end.